This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter W. Welcome to another sports catastrophe on this day. I know it's been a while since I did it on this day, but basically, I can't top a lot of other things. But anyway, on March 18th in the year 1953, almost 7 decades ago, baseball had a franchise shift for the first time in more than 50 years. So, if you followed baseball and you remember baseball back before the expansion days of the 1960s, you know that there were 16 teams in the majors, 8 in the American League, 8 in the National League. All you have to do is win the American and National League, and you're going to the World Series. Simple enough. No other playoff rounds. No hooky fluky stuff. In the American League, you had mainstays such as the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the St. Louis Browns, the Philadelphia A's, the Detroit Tigers, the Washington Senators, the Chicago White Sox, and the Cleveland Redacted. So those 8 teams played and all that. In the National League, you had the Boston Braves. You had the Philadelphia Phillies. You had the New York Giants, the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Chicago Cubs, the Cincinnati Reds, the St. Louis Cardinals, and one other team I am blank. Pittsburgh Pirates, of course. So you had 16 teams. It was uniform all the way through 1961. Till 1961, I should say. Anyway, the Boston Braves were not doing well in Boston. They went through a lot of owners. They went through penny pitching so bad it was hard pressed. They tried to put Babe Ruth on their squad just for publicity, but he quit in May, and basically the team ended up becoming one of the worst teams in baseball history. They had the worst winning percentage. The 1935 Boston team has the worst winning percentage by a National League squad. You may be thinking, oh, wait a minute, what about the 62 Mets? Well, strange as it sounds, the 62 Mets were better. They were 40 and 120, or 250 winning percentage. The Braves, that Braves squad, 248, as I said a while ago. But, Boston was struggling. The Braves couldn't beat their brethren, the Boston Red Sox, despite the fact that the Red Sox hadn't won a World Series since 1918. The Braves were outclassed, despite having a bigger field, Braves field, with better attendance and capacity than Fenway Park's bandbox. But Fenway Park had that feel. The Boston Braves almost took on their rivals, the Boston Red Sox, in what would have been an all-hub World Series in 1948, but the Red Sox lost a one-game playoff to the Indians. Yeah, I know I said redacted, but fuck that. Anyway, so the Boston Braves were losing it. Every team played in the same cities all through the town. However, Boston was desperate, and the city of Milwaukee, who had this beautiful stadium for a AAA squad, thought that, hey, it's a major league ballpark. Let's do it. So Milwaukee ends up taking the Boston Braves away from Boston. I think the Braves were happy to leave Boston. They had a terrible 1952 season. They were moved to Milwaukee. It was the first time they had a franchise shifted in 50 years. You would be thinking, wait a minute. If you said that all the teams were uniform and all that through 1901 onwards, what happened? Well, the funny thing is there was a team called the Milwaukee Brewers in 1901. Milwaukee had a team in the American League. Then they transferred it to St. Louis for the St. Louis Browns. And then that team became the Baltimore Orioles in 1954. So that wasn't the first franchise shift. And then you got yourself the strange truth that the New York Yankees actually didn't play in New York the first few seasons. They were actually Baltimore. Strange as it sounds, there was a team in Baltimore before there was a team in New York City. The 1901 and 1902 Baltimore Orioles, who came off the heels of their 1890s trickery and all that. If you don't believe me, look it up online. But anyway, they wanted to have a franchise. And then they sucked with the rosters and all that and money, so they sold to the New York area. So the New York Yankees were born in 1903. and I've been great ever since. Let's say that. So anyway, the New York Yankees knew what to do. But anyway, that was the last time a franchise shifted. Every year it was uniform until 1953 when the Braves moved to Milwaukee. Now here's the big thing about how popular baseball was in Milwaukee. The first 13 home dates in Milwaukee at County Stadium, there were more fans in those 13 games than the Boston Braves had in all of 1952 at home. That tells you how bad it is. Anyhow, so Milwaukee had a love affair with the Braves, and it wasn't long before the players paid Milwaukee back tenfold with a couple of great moments. 1957, they won the World Series over the hated New York Yankees. They had a 3-1 lead in 1958, but choked it to the Yankees. How do you do that? The Milwaukee Braves brought in players like Bobby Thompson, Hank Aaron, Eddie Matthews, Lou Burnett, Warren Spahn, the kid and caboodle. However, things wouldn't be rosy forever. As just 13 years later, in 1966, the Milwaukee Braves would move to Atlanta. Fans were starting to get sick of baseball, but why? I guess because the Braves were starting to stumble out of the gate. They didn't want to pay money to watch a losing baseball team. They didn't trust the process. So anyway, Atlanta with a AAA team wanting to play in this whole brand new stadium called Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. They had the stadium and it enticed the Braves. So the Braves moved from Milwaukee to Atlanta and played in Atlanta, and I've played in Atlanta ever since. And yes, I know that the Braves are the defending World Series champions, and I am bitter that they had more losses in the regular season in 2021 when they won the title than the Blue Jays, who didn't even make the playoffs. But it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, it's funny how the Braves franchise won a World Series in Boston in 1914, won in Milwaukee in 1953, and won in Atlanta, no, 57 World Series, and won a World Series in Atlanta in 95 and 2021. But I mean, the Braves franchise, it's funny, you win a franchise, you move twice, and you win a World Series while being in 3 cities. That's crazy, don't you think? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond, I do.